The caribou are a really special part of who we are as Dene people. They're a part of what sustained us, and we're a part of them. My earliest memory of caribou happened on a day like this. When I was just a little girl, sitting in the front of my dad on a skidoo. We drove over the esker and down to the lake. There were hundreds of caribou all around us. And I jumped up and I yelled, "Caribou!" with all my might.
They say the Dene people are the caribou people, and I really do believe that our souls are connected one way or another. My community carries trauma every day. We come from a really sad, dark history. We were separated from the land, separated from the caribou. It's something that we don't want to repeat.
I would hate one day for our grandkids to say that there's no more caribou because we didn't speak up for them. That inspired us to start this Indigenous Protected Area.
What's here? Englanet Stephanie Thrasty Hushe. My name is Stephanie Thrasty. I'm from Tuduli Lake. I'm Sayisi Dene First Nation, and I'm here to talk to you about a project that's very, very dear to my heart. The Seal River Watershed Indigenous Protected Area Initiative, IPA. We're looking to the province and to the federal government to partner with us in this work to create the protected area. So we're building support through traveling to conferences, collecting feedback from our community members, doing interviews with the media. Our IPCA submission project, the Seal River Watershed, is 50,000 square kilometers. It's the largest protected area submission in Canada to date. And it's 99.97% pristine. Have you been to a place like that before?
Nope.
Often it includes bringing my laptop with me wherever I go, answering emails all day long. And there's so many different layers of things that are happening on a daily basis. Some of the other protected areas, they're set up by just Canada alone, whereas this protected area, the rules that we make for it is dependent on you to help us make those rules. An IPA is an Indigenous Protected Area. This is just a formalized way of putting a title to work that we've done as Indigenous people since time immemorial. The 4 nations of the Seal River Watershed Alliance are Sayisi Dene First Nation, Northlands Dene First Nation, Barren Lands First Nation, and O-Pipon-Na-Piwin Cree Nation. Our 4 nations have traditionally used these lands together, and we wanted to ensure that our neighbors had a voice in this work, honoring their connections to these lands as well.
It's amazing to see ethnic groups that live in close proximity for thousands of years all of a sudden find a common cause to actually want to work together to do something, and that's to protect our environment.
With this watershed, I believe we can move forward together as one.
We need to do it together. We need to be very strong. It's our land. We don't want anybody to destroy our land.
It's a very fragile environment up here. You know, it could be destroyed so easily. You see every day all the destruction caused by global warming and climate change, mining and development, and hydro diversions, and we're going opposite to that.
This is the last river in Manitoba that's not developed in any way. I want the people to be able to hunt, to be able to fish, to be able to gather medicines, and to know that all of that is going to be as pristine as it is today for the next 100 years.
This land is so special to them, and of course they're going to give it their everything to protect it and conserve it for the future generations.
It's our duty to do this. It's a part of who we are. Doing this work helps us have a place to connect with the land and to have a safe place to be able to speak our languages and celebrate our cultures.
The work is kind of a bit different than I feel like what most parents do. It's like, oh, my mom's a lawyer, my dad's a nurse. My mom's working to protect a massive area of land because it's one of the last untouched places in the world. It's kind of cool.
I wasn't always in this kind of work. My journey to this job is kind of a bit of a story.
So a lot of my work is done here in Winnipeg. My day starts pretty early in the morning. As soon as I open my eyes, I start answering emails that might have come in through the night, Zoom meetings back to back to back. When I was a kid growing up in Tuduli Lake, I couldn't see myself doing this job because we didn't have people in these jobs. I spent my whole childhood in our one-room school, and I really did believe that the education that I received was the same as anybody else in Canada. My graduating class was 2 people, and I was the valedictorian. After that, I enrolled at the University of Manitoba in Winnipeg, and I literally was a fish out of water when I talked about where I came from and the food I was used to eating. People would look at me like I was from a different planet, and it was such a shock for me when I started taking these classes because I couldn't do the work. I had to withdraw from so many classes, and that was when I was expecting my daughter. And the work was just too difficult to do with the brand new baby. So I stopped. I didn't go back for 10 years. So my daughter goes to school here in Winnipeg because I want her to have all of the opportunities that I didn't have going to school. How was school? You have homework?
Yeah, I think I have some math, like some more math stuff, and then some French.
Math and French, okay.
I need water or just coffee?
Coffee? Are you surprised?
No.
Well,
Why do I even ask if you have water?
It was really tough learning how to exist while being here when all I wanted was to be there, right? And it's always been trying to find where I fit. There's less of the culture happening here, but I really do try to stay connected to those animals on the land. Every time I work on a caribou hide, part of me becomes alive again. And it's something that I need to do for me that help keep me whole.
My name is Jimmy Clipping. I was born in 1944 at Little Duck Lake. Back in them days, we want some food on our table, we go hunting, we go fishing so that we can feed our family. That was our grocery store. We knew that without the caribou, we would starve.
So in the fall time, they would harvest caribou for their family, food to eat now, and food to eat in the winter when there was no more caribou, when they were in a different area. They would bring that whole caribou to the shore and they would let it freeze on the shore like a natural freezer. When the caribou weren't nearby, they would be out of food. They would go to that spot where they left the caribou. They knew that they could feed their families again. In the 1950s, a plane came to Little Duck Lake, and a reporter came off of that plane and took photographs of our winter freezer. And this photograph was printed without understanding our culture. They just saw it from this one perspective as the slaughter of caribou. Nobody ever asked us.
They exaggerated it, that we killed, overkilled, and we were doing the wrong thing.
The federal government thought the Dene were killing too many caribou. In the 50s, the Department of Indian Affairs forcibly relocated the band to Churchill. The move proved disastrous.
We were forced to try to abandon our cultures. We were forced to move from our homes, which was so important to us, and disconnected from the land based off of policies made by outsiders who have no connection to the lands or the peoples whatsoever.
I remember dismantling the tents and that and carrying it on our backs to the site where the plane's going to be landing. And that was it. They loaded the people and we left our country.
The government came along, took them away from their homeland and dumped them to Churchill, and no directions, no counseling, no nothing, just left the people.
My parents were born in Churchill just after the relocation. Their names are Roger and Caroline Thrasey. They are supportive and resilient, but they came from a really hard place. This is our first time together seeing where my parents used to live as kids.
In 1956, when they moved the people from Duck Lake, and they made them little 16 by 16 houses, and they put them up here right by this cemetery, right alongside here. They called it Camp 10. Little prayer, offer the tobacco. I could close my eyes, I could see everything. There was no running water, no nothing. Just a basic floor, 4 walls and a roof. Couldn't even hold heat if you tried. I had no food for nobody, and we had to go to the dump to collect something to eat. We were considered the scum of Churchill.
It's a sad place to be and to think about, but here we are.
There was a pipe sticking out of the ground with one of those little taps on it.
Is that it over there?
Yeah, there it is right there. You can just see the tip of it right there, you see it? That's where we got water from.
Somebody's bowl to collect water, to bring a proud group of people who were thriving and surviving, happy out on the land, to being brought to this. I can't imagine how broken their soul must have felt to be disconnected.
They moved us from Camp 10, maybe 5-10 kilometers, and they named it Dene Village.
Erected in memory and honor of the Sayisi Dene people who during their darkest hours resided here at Dene Village. Over 1/3 of the population died tragically.
That's my late sister. She was just 2 years old when she passed away.
Most of these names on these plaques are children and babies.
They had no food for nobody, and there was lots of trauma, lots of chaos.
Either frozen, burned, lost, hid and run, murdered, you name it. That's how my people started to go.
Right here, look
right there.
Foundation here. Yeah.
Whose house is this?
Grandpa's house, my mom and dad.
You can barely see it. Is there a foundation there?
Yeah, there's a foundation there.
Do you remember being here?
A little bit. There's not very much I remember about Dene Village. I was too young. But what little things I do remember, there's some sad moments. Scary.
Our society can completely crumble down to just disarray. Kids that grew up in Dene Village, like myself, dysfunctional in so many different ways. We were the troublesome kids. We were starving half the time, and we had to fend for ourselves.
Thrasey's Street 3 in front of Robinson Thrasey's house, my grandpa.
Your house too, right?
Yeah, well, this is where I lived yet. And my uncle's trying to straighten me out, and one said, "You better not fight. Don't get into trouble. Don't fight." And here he was beating me up all the time he got drunk. There was so much chaos around here that we always took off away from here. That's why we stayed out, and then we didn't come back till nighttime. And by the time we came back, all these people that were drunk, whoa, 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 whoa.
It's important for people to understand the connection that people have with the land and what happens to people when they lose that connection. It's something that our nations have been doing for centuries, for millennia, being these stewards, being a part of the ecosystem. When the people were taken away from life out on the land and brought here, that's when the cycle was kind of broken there, and that's when really bad things started happening.
To lose 130 people in 16 years, a small band like ours, it was a major blow. It was almost like a death blow.
It was interesting to see where they're from and where they grew up, and the memories that they had, because I've never ever had to deal with anything like this. So it's interesting to hear their stories, because it's just from a different time, or different things were okay, like this, according to the government.
Bad things have happened to the lands as a result of the decisions that policymakers in Canada have made on our behalf. While my community were dealing with the hardships of the relocation, there was also another project that was happening just south of us, where Manitoba Hydro was making plans to divert the Churchill River.
My name's Leanna Anderson. I'm originally from South Union Lake, the O-Pipon-Na-Piwin Cree Nation. I grew up on the Churchill River that runs through South Union Lake. We were the third largest jumbo whitefish exporter in North America. The people were not poor. They were healthy and they were rich in resources. In '76, South Union Lake ended up being a part of the Churchill River Diversion Project for Manitoba Hydro. They opened up Missy Falls control structure, damming the Churchill River and taking about 90% of its water flow and diverting it, flooding South Union Lake. The water came up so fast and everything changed. The water got sick and the fish started getting sick. My late father, Bill Anderson, was a commercial fisherman and a trapper. When fishing got to be so bad, and he was losing money trying to fish and doing the only thing he knew how to do, he committed suicide in our own home when I was 13. To me, that's what happens when you take the spirit out of a man who's proud. And you look at South Union now. Now we're worried about boil water advisories. Now people are told that they can't drink straight from the lake. That's what hydro development does. That's what commercial development does. I cry for that because I see what that devastation's done to the people, the community.
We've seen what happens to other areas when industry comes through. Despite all of this history, we are still facing threats to the caribou. We are still facing the threat of possible mining coming into the area. There's still the threat of maybe we'll have to put a hydro dam on the Seal River to provide power to somewhere else. These are still ideas that we hear about on a regular basis. And that's why we have to do this work. That's why we need to be voices for the caribou and the land and our communities. That's why we need to keep taking care of our traditional lands.
After we lost over 100 people, that's when the elders said, we've had enough. This is not a place for us. But we know a place where we can go, where we lived for many years, and they started moving out. They chose 5 people out of the group, and I was one of them. And we traveled all the way back up in this area. So this is the lake, I thought to myself. I'm here. The Dooley Lake, It was a paradise compared to where we were coming from.
The relocation had been a mistake. They left behind a nightmare, the nightmare of the Dene village slum ghetto in Churchill.
Managed to start a new life in Tuduli, and it's paradise. The caribou come every year. We got to harvest caribou and revive our people, and overcome what happened to us in Churchill.
And Churchill was like we were sort of left out in the backyard, around here. You can go anywhere, right? Do anything you want.
Since relocating here, they changed to quiet bush life, and they had a little more respect for each other and loving and caring, and they enjoy themselves, and it seems like there's no problem now.
This is where I got off when the plane landed out in the ice, and I got off here. I couldn't really believe it, eh? That's why I thought I died, went to heaven. While all my uncles were sober, all smiling at me. My granny was there too, and and Stephanie was born. After she was born, it was a whole different story. I've got to go on this healing journey now. I've got to turn the page.
When I first left for university, I was very shy and very quiet. I was scared to share where my family came from for a long time because people already see me as being different.
And they don't have a lot in common with me.
Then I had my daughter. I needed a trade, something I could do to support Elise. So I went to school for aesthetics. I worked in a salon. I helped make people feel good about themselves. I had to learn to talk to people.
This was my spot. I'd to come grab a seat, and I would tuck you in, and then we would get started. I started to realize that people were really interested in my background and my culture and a little bit of my story.
During that time, I managed to finish my degree at the U of M, so working full-time and doing one last class that took me over a decade to finish. It was New Year's Eve, and we were going to go skating, and I'm going to go walk to the bench to get off the rink. So I go to step out, and literally my feet come up with, and it was like a Home Alone movie, and my arms go back, and I broke both my wrists. I was sitting on my couch in 2 casts, probably for 4 months. I had to change my career. So I'm sitting on the couch going, I really wish there was a job that existed that I could continue to advocate for my culture and for my language, for the community. I really wish there was a job out there that I could have where I could go to the north as often as I could, and I want to. I could go travel to the communities. I could come to Churchill or other places where my heart has always been.
Well, it happened after the spring hunt of 2016. For whatever mystical reason, the caribou calves and cows seemed to congregate around our community that spring. Word got out that the caribou were there, and it was a good winter road, and we had thousands of hunters. And the worst atrocity of that was waste of caribou. We saw them everywhere. And it was really alarming to me.
Literally, there were stores of caribou that were killed all over. To load up the semi-trucks, fill it up with caribou and leave.
And the caribou didn't come back for a couple of years after that. I really do believe that the spirit of the caribou was offended.
In 2016, that's the first time we heard about IPCAs. So I pondered that, anything to stop the caribou slaughter. To keep it as a grassroots movement, I went house to house in Tuduli, and I told the people that I want to protect our territory according to our rules and our customs, to create a protected area to keep hydro out and to keep industry out and enroachment by outside hunters. That's when we met with the Lac Brochet. Then we went to Brochet, then to visit South Indian. It became the point of unity, is to find a way to protect caribou and protect our territory. Which is why we decided to create this Indigenous Protected Area. So we took it from the grassroots up And that's where it stayed. And I'm at an age now where I can't take on the workload or the stress of traveling and constant meetings. And so we hired a young lady by the name of Stephanie Thrassi as an assistant one summer. And she was so efficient and so amazing. And she kind of just walked into the perfect timing. And I convinced her to just take this project, take the young people and do it as a younger generation project.
I doubted myself. I doubted my abilities. There's some tough shoes to follow. Ernie is an incredible advocate. He is a great public speaker. And I'm really thankful that he saw me as a person to help with this work and gave me the opportunity. I started to realize that I needed to trust my intuition and trust the knowledge that I carry. It's okay to have a voice about that stuff because we haven't had a voice for a long time.
We are asserting our inherent rights to steward these lands for our communities.
For Manitobans, for Canadians.
As Indigenous people, we've been leading the way. I feel like this is the first time in a long time that that's being recognized.
Nearly 9 in 10 Manitobans support creating more protected areas. So there's a desire. People want it. People are saying we need to protect more areas.
I think it's important to do the IPA because it's Indigenous-led, and I think that we've had enough of people coming into our towns and telling us what's good for us. We're telling you now. She's telling you. Her people are telling you what's good, and I think that that needs to be acknowledged and respected.
Actually, my first time going to witness this. I can't even talk in front of a crowd. And for her to do it, had knocked my socks off. Pretty amazing. Well, I am extremely proud of her. I couldn't be even happier.
In retrospect, it all makes sense, but why did I have to take so long to get my degree, and why did I have to do the aesthetics, and why did I have to go this route? I guess I had to learn how to talk to people, and I had to learn how to make people feel comfortable with what we're talking about and find a common interest with people. Kind of seems like the puzzle pieces that didn't really have a place before are starting to click in their spots when things are making sense.
Four nations, the Manitoba government and the government of Canada just signed the Memorandum of Understanding to formally begin the feasibility study for the creation of the Indigenous Protected Area. This is the first real large milestone in our journey to create a protected space. Officially, the area is under interim protection. This means there won't be any threats from the mining industry as we continue to move forward. And we get a chance to say what we want and what we don't want to happen.
We've been trying to do stuff like that in a long time, but all the things that's been happening to us, and now finally where we are now, this is very, very emotional.
And of course, our governments are here, the Government of Canada, as well as our provincial administration. We're here to show that we are partners with Indigenous leaders, and we're going to work together to do good things for all of our people. It's very moving to see the people of the region be able to have the work that they put in over the years recognized on the Indigenous Protected Area, but in the bigger picture to have the relationship that they have with the land and waters in their homeland to be committed to being honored by governments in Manitoba and Canada.
I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that it's an historic day. I think it shows our commitment to protect at least 30% of our lands and waters by 2030, but it also shows our commitment to doing this with reconciliation being at the forefront of our conservation effort.
Everything that happened today is a huge deal, and just preserving the land and making sure it's still going to be there for my kids and grandkids.
It's important for generations like my age. Like, I'm really glad, we don't have no mine, no nothing. So everything, we're pretty good about that.
That's why we're protected our land for the future, for young people,
This is an Indigenous-led initiative. We're showing our youth that even though we come from small communities and we're just a bunch of res kids, we can do big things.
Although we're here celebrating this milestone in the timeline of the project, we're not done yet. We have so much more to do. We need to keep reminding the province and the federal government in order to be successful, we need support. I think we need to hire more land guardians. There's a lot of land out there, and we need to hire more people to help us take care of it as we're doing this work. You can't have healthy lands without people, and you can't have healthy people without access to the land.
We're so excited to create land guardian jobs. We are supporting our community members by helping them to create real jobs and real incomes for themselves.
Yeah, deadly elder. See, it's right there.
So we were doing different kinds of training out on the land. What better way than to take the 7-day journey in canoes going down rapids. The river is powerful, so mighty and fast. And we can see what it does to our canoes and the people. We had some issues with the rapids and a couple of the boats tipped. Everybody's safe, kind of laughing, talking about it now.
It's all part of the experience, and of course there'll be bumps and bruises along the way, we know. These kids have to learn what not to do in the rapids and stuff, including myself.
It was pretty scary, but fun at the same time. First time going down the river, fell over and yeah, intense.
Wild experience, but worth it, eh?
Those people got back in their boats and they practiced and practiced. And when they were leaving that very same spot where there were some issues, we saw all smiling faces.
Good job. Fun one.
And that's what our biggest goal and mandate is for our guardians, is to be able to build the capacity of the youth and young people so that we'd be the ones taking care of this project. They're the ones driving the boats and snowmobiles and the quads, doing all the monitoring work. They're the ones that are picking up garbage on the trails, that are seeing the caribou out on the lands. And a big part of this project, we've been talking about ecotourism and cultural tourism.
Yeah, I see myself working in tourism. Getting paid to do that would be really good because I've been there and I have the experience.
By creating ecotourism, we're able to bring more economy to the area without having outsiders remove resources from the lands and the waters.
To be able to go on the rivers that are untouched by commercial development and just seeing how clean and how pure and natural everything is just amazing.
What I would like to see with it is teaching what we can use, how to survive.
You know your traditional medicine. Tastes like lemon juice. You boil it and that'll kill your chest pain.
We need to be the ones leading the tourism because we have the longest connection to these lands. The trees behind us and the water behind us is still as it's been since my ancestors came through here.
There's an island. It's called Anderson Island, and it's named after my late father. Everybody's connected in one way or another, walking on an estuary where our ancestors walked. And people sharing stories, and this water here, the Seal River, it's brought us all together. I look at the Seal River Watershed Alliance and the IPA as an opportunity to be able to tell people we have to stand together and do everything that we can to make sure nothing happens to it.
We are standing at the mouth of the Seal River, where the water flows into the Hudson's Bay, which is the estuary of the beluga whales, where they have their babies, and where we have polar bears and we have caribou.
Elise actually said, "You didn't take your laptop, Mom." And I said, well, I think this is one of those times that I shouldn't bring my laptop and that I should really be present and in the moment and take this all in. My mind just goes to a whole bunch of different places. I'm excited. I'm happy. And I'm sad.
You think you love your kids? Wait till you see your granddaughter. That's true. I'm taking her out fishing, and I was getting excited watching her. Ah, I got a fish, I got a fish, ah! Like a little kid all over again, because I never had that childhood.
I'm always sharing as much as I can with her. Yeah, not too hard though. So that she has a strong connection with who she is.
There seems to be a rebirth in the community of pride in our community and our surroundings.
A really big part of understanding ourselves is knowing where we came from.
I am first generation out of Dene Village. I feel like it is my job to stand up and say our rights should be recognized. Establishing the Seal River Watershed, IPA, is one of the ways that we can share our culture with the world and say that we are proud, strong people. And we know what should be happening on these lands.